started with this week's AMA. As I'm sure you've noticed, the venerable Frisky Fox is not on stage this week. He is traveling at the moment, so we do not have him with us this week, but we do have this wonderful crew of folks up here, including Magnus, Beetledude, Hubert, and Dreamer. So we are going to go ahead and kick off with some updates from some of the team. And to start that out, we have the one and only Dreamer.
Cool. Hi, everybody. Yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks. I'm going to start with two things before kicking it back to Bolon. The first is really kind of what's been going on the marketing and the activity on the social side. I think that we've had a lot of success the last couple of weeks. It's coming from a number of different sources. You know, I think Hero's new clothes and Hero's best friend, as well as 3XP. Some folks in the industry adding some exposure. You know, a lot of the uplifts and a lot coming from the community. It's all been really impactful. I'm looking at DApp Radar right now, and the 7-day unique active wallets is at like 19K, 30-day at like 75, I think, and the 90 days at like 93,000. So, you know,
24, 7, and 30. The 19.
24/7. Okay. Well, I'm refreshing mine in front of me right now. It's not loading up. But anyway, these are all numbers that are really attractive and have grown a ton. So I think, you know, getting exposure at these events, you know, oftentimes we spend all this time, you know, doing promotions online, on Twitter, being in-person events, doing a lot of work offline, and it's good to see that people are likely returning, checking us out. You know, there's been talk of people bridging Heroes over and just being a lot more active. That's what we want. We are a game that's in development, so, you know, as people check us out, every time they do, they should expect to see improvements and new features and new things. So I'm happy that we're continuing to build that brand as a development company to put things out regardless of the market. You know, we say those things, we've said them in the past, and we've continued to do them and to get recognized for them. But we also have a lot to do, a lot to build. We're building in not only the ecosystem that we have on top of that, but also aiming to have a fun to play game and to invite all sorts of players. So just wanted to give a little bit of a shout out and a pat on the back for community, for marketing, for features, and for the events that we've been focused on. Some of those features that are coming up, people are aware of the DFK Bazaar that is meant to really solve or add to the solutions to the problem of liquidity for some of our tokens in game that don't benefit from having like an incentivized pool in the gardens. We're really excited about this feature. It's actually a pretty nice piece of technology. The order book style decks, as some people refer it to, or refer it as, it's something that is also scalable and usable with others outside of DeFi Kingdom. So we've been thinking about this and other features, you know, some feedback from folks outside of the team that are very well connected to other projects and in the space. Some feedback is part of mass adoption for DFK will involve not only ease of entry to get into the game and good, you know, onboarding tutorial that feels natural, but some of the services being accessible in different ways. So we're actually kicking around the idea of the technology that backs the Bazaar, order book style decks, being accessible in different ways as well. So that if somebody wanted to use this technology on one of the chains we're supported on, they wouldn't have the barriers of getting into the game to do so. While at the same time, those in the game are going to have, you know, an eventual very seamless user experience where it's all gamified like all of our other amazing features. So we're kind of dabbling with this, and there might be some announcements on that to come. We're excited to find ways that we can scale some of the technology that could act as a hook for others to know awareness about DeFi Kingdoms and hop into the game, while also, you know, benefiting all of our amazing players and community. So more to come on that. There will likely be some announcements, you know, in the next couple of weeks as we flesh out this idea and try to make sure we maximize like the return on investment of all of these technologies that are under the hood of DeFi kingdoms. So with that, I'll pause and pass it over to you, Bolon.
Thank you. Sorry for the interruption there. Excuse me, earlier. But yeah, just for clarification, so 19K in 24 hours, 67 and a half in 7 days, and just shy of 94,000 in the last 30 days. So as Dreamer said, super exciting to see that. That's awesome. Really, really cool to watch that growth. Just because it's a number that blows my mind every time. That is a current 444% growth over 30 days. So that's really, really cool. Love to see it and super excited by it. I believe that Beetle Dude might have an update on an update for us.
Indeed, when you put it that way. Well, I get to update, but it was really typical who did all the hard work. Just essentially adding in a couple buttons back into the Quest queue interface for folks who are using hardware wallets. It will essentially help them because I think they might have been limited to a single transaction at a time, which kind of didn't work very well with our multi-queue setup. So we added buttons back in for those folks with hardware wallets and people who want to piecemeal their completions. Maybe select a few. I don't know. I think Boa mentioned Quest, like completing his gardeners and then or his miners and having them move over to gold or something like that. So just accommodating some of those other use cases. So big props to Typical for getting that out. I think it should provide a good middle ground to be able to complete all or just choose the queue that you want to complete on your own. So yeah, hopefully we accommodate everyone who is using that system.
Thank you much,
Dude. Oh, no. Sorry, everybody. I'm gonna plug in my good mic. I'll be back.
All right. Thank you much, Beetle Dude. Hubert, got anything for us?
Let's see. Not too much. I mean, we're still plugging away with all the things we're working on. No major updates at the moment, but I'm excited to be seeing progress made and getting closer to being able to release a few things. But yeah, it's still a bit, so I'm gonna be tight-lipped about it. I guess I will mention also that me and Workhorse did go on to Wowie's podcast this week on Monday, and I believe that's available on YouTube if anyone missed it. So just throwing that out there. But yep.
Thank you, sir. It is available on YouTube, and I highly recommend it. If you have not had a chance to give it a listen, you should do so. And last but certainly not least, Magnus. Got anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, sure thing. Not a huge update on the blockchain side for me this week. I've been working on some combat-related smart contracts and also improving some of our DFK chain infrastructure that kind of goes on behind the scenes. Yep, short update for me. I will pass it back to Bolon now.
Excellent. And actually, I lied. I'm going to be last because I forgot I had things to say. Just wanted to throw out there real quick the Heroes New Clothes Twitter campaign. All of the prizes have been sent out as of yesterday. If you have not received your prize, and you should have, please make sure you reach out to us. If you will do it through the DFK Twitter account, that will be the easiest. So if you have not received it, let me know. But they should all be out now. Thank you everyone who participated in that. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully you all liked what you saw. And then also the Hero's Best Friend patch had a couple of events that went with it. And two of those were based on a snapshot of pets. As of also yesterday. That data is now out. It is in the announcements channel. If you haven't seen it, it is there. So that data is now out. The portion that includes a drawing, we will be doing the drawing next Tuesday, June 27th at 2:45 p.m. Eastern. So that is 30 minutes from now, time-wise, but also next Tuesday. So stay tuned for that. It'll be on YouTube as always. It will be, recorded and available for people to watch back, of course. And then the prizes from the drawing, as well as the airdrop for the pet treats, will be completed after that. We are going to say to give us 2 weeks just in case, but we're going to try to get them done pretty quick. So I'm last. Woo! But with that, we will move into some questions for this week. So the first question will be for probably Beetledude / Hubert and maybe others as well. Do we have a time frame on when to expect more hero classes in the CTG?
All right. Better? Can you hear me?
So crisp.
Oh, you sound
Nice.
wow.
All right. I will not yell, said. I will mumble as God intended. All right. So, I would say the combat testing ground in general. We are making good progress. We've kind of actually split up between a few teams. One team working on the classes, the other team working on more of the polish, implementation, and things like that are also needed. So we are making progress still. It is a lot of work, and we're kind of incorporating other like short-term, interesting kind of implementation details as well that might come out a little bit sooner or at the same time as new classes. So it's hard to answer the when exactly, but I will say that we are continuing to progress on kind of multiple fronts, and we'll be getting new classes out as soon as possible. And possibly some ways to make it easier to use the heroes that you enjoy and that you are most excited to see. So I guess stay tuned. Progress being made, but won't give any hard dates at this point.
Thank you much, Dude of Beetle. Very much appreciated. Let's see. Next question, which probably a primarily Hubert question. With Skeleton Profession Quests and Pet Utility, there's more XP being gained by heroes that are questing. Any thoughts on when the next rune will come out to open up level 30?
Yep. So this is the kind of answer hasn't really changed from previous times. So this has come up, which is we're trying to get our combat system at least to a place where we can use it in game and not have it just be a testing thing, and having the next level kind of come out around that time, maybe a little bit after the next runes, so you can get to the next levels. So that's kind of the general target. Depending on the flow, like how much progress we make and whatnot, we may revisit that in the future. But at the moment, that's kind of the plan. Especially as we're designing everything and building out equipment. It's very helpful that we're focused mostly on like levels 1 through 20 right now. Adding another 10 levels of focus just increases the scope of work. And like right now, I think the most important thing for us to do is to kind of get the baseline in place, and then we can be iterating on that baseline. So our focus is still really on getting building the engine, and then once it's there, then we can add all the add-ons. So Probably not the answer you wanted to hear, but still, that's kind of the plan. If things start taking too long, we may revisit this again.
Much appreciated. And then there are two questions that I'm going to kind of combine into one for Beetle Dude because they kind of tie together into the same thing. So that is actually, that's a lie. No, they don't. I take that back. We're going to keep them as two questions. So the first question is in the UI, having a filter by heroes with bonded pets, as well as a multi-queue hero bridge. I know we've talked a little bit about those before, so just resurfacing those.
Gotcha. Cool. I can definitely talk to the first one. I think maybe the second one might have some contractual needs, which I might pass on to Magnus. Yeah, I think I know we had, maybe it was last week, had a question about a bonded pet filter for, I think, whether the pet is bonded or not. Yeah, I think it would be about the same amount of work to also add to the hero, whether or not they have a bonded pet. So I'll get it added to the list. It might be something that we'll need a little bit of API work on, but should be doable for sure. It is written down. And then as far as the bridging goes, Magnus, I don't know if you had any thoughts there. I think maybe you've answered this one before.
Yeah, I addressed this a little bit last week, but yeah, multi-bridging is definitely possible. We just need to build in a couple methods to make that there, with the caveat that there's still going to be limits around how much we can do because of the gas limit that's allowed kind of on the receiving chain, and they're different for each. So a little bit of complexity there, but definitely possible, and something we've got on our roadmap. It's just not as high of a priority as some of the other items we got, but definitely something we're looking to integrate at some point.
Thank you, gentlemen. Also, shout out to Fox, who's currently lurking in the chat. We see you. So, next question. We answered a question last week about the potential of an auction system for heroes. There's a question of, instead of an auction system, any thoughts on a offer system? So like sending an offer to people who have heroes listed. I'll start that off with my personal opinion, is I think that ties pretty heavily into in-game chat, rather than needing to build out both systems. I think in-game chat can be used to essentially accomplish an offer system anyway. But if anybody has other additional thoughts, please feel free. All right, I speak for everybody now. Let's do this. Let's see. The next question, how do we feel about a higher level training quest that could give page 10 and regular crystals with a higher entry stat level than the current training quests?
Sounds like a me question. So while we do still have plans to have higher level training quests in the future, it's not really a high priority at the moment. And it dropping like page 10 and regular crystals, I think, is probably not what would end up being the result of that. Just regular crystals in general are something that we have other plans for. And with the page 10, I don't think that's going to be what we end up doing. Still planning on having kind of a limited drop of the page 10. Just again, it's not our priority at the moment to focus on that. So, yep, that's kind of not really supportive of your question, but that's kind of the direction I guess I can say right now that we're heading in.
Thank you for the insight. Let's see. So, a probably Beetle Dude question slash second best dad who's not here. So, with pet equipping, when you complete quests, your pets have a box around them that correlates to their rarity. Any plans to do something similar with the heroes so that you can see their rarity as well?
Yeah, that is definitely on the roadmap. I think we do have similar things for like for duels. We have the rarity borders. So it's essentially just you just need some to work on the art assets, which I think are maybe a little bit different depending on what area of the game you're in. So we'd probably need to figure out what the best way to do that would be. But definitely something that we would like to do. I think across the board is just be able to represent the hero rarity wherever we can. So yeah, let's do it.
Most definitely. I like it. I like the attitude. So, also a question for you. We've talked about it in the past, and just curious of updates on it. The ability to lock asset or like place a lock on assets to avoid accidentally selling or accidentally dark summoning, that kind of thing. So I think that kind of ties into the tagging system that we've talked about before.
Yep. Yeah, I think I've talked about the tagging system maybe 30 times at this point. But yeah, we have we have the login available. It's just a matter of figuring out like the UI and quite a bit of items to get that functioning in a way that would be helpful for folks. So it's on the roadmap, just not currently in progress.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. A question I think primarily for Hubert. Thoughts on having multiple time frames for locking for CNS Jewel within the same wallet?
Yeah, so that was we did have a question like that pretty far back, so not no problems with it being asked again. But I guess I'll just kind of answer the same way we did back then, which it all kind of came down to complexity. There were concerns with having we did actually consider having like multiple queue capabilities, or I guess being able to have like 3 different deposit accounts, things like that. But when it came to like working with the power-up system, there was quite a lot of complexity tied to that. Like how do you track which C Jewel or S Jewel accounts and things of that nature. And rather than kind of digging into all of that and expanding the amount of work that would be required and potentially having different forms of exploits there, we opted to go with a more simple approach, which was to have a single account on there. So at this point I don't think it would be something that we could change without it being very disruptive to the way the jeweler works. And I'm not really sure that we should be changing it either, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, there are a few things that we would like to upgrade with the jeweler system that are different topics, but yeah, I think those are kind of the main reasons. Like it is something where everyone's assets are being locked up, and we wanted to make sure we do something with our design that is solid and doesn't have risk of people losing assets or anything like that. And the more complex you make something, the more avenues there are for there to be a sneaky bug that could be very problematic. So that's kind of the rationale that we had for going the route we did.
Yes. While you're here, another question for you. Yay! Any update on PvP timeline? It was previously mentioned aiming for end of Q1, which was CTG. So any thoughts on more timeline, which I think Dreamer had some thoughts on as well.
Yeah, so I guess I can start, and then if anyone else wants to jump in. So yeah, with that announcement, I think the terminology we were using at the time was a little too specific. We were the PvP system was really the intent was to develop a combat system that would be used for the game in its whole, but we were calling it PvP initially. And I believe the initial Q1 target was to have an alpha build up, which we do, or pre-alpha, I should say, which is the CTG, and we did get that out in Q1. As far as the rest of it goes, I mean, we are working through it, and a lot of the things that we're working on right now is, implementing all the different mechanics, the different status effects, and and the skills of new classes. The more we get those fundamental things in place, the faster we can go with the rest of it. But the fundamental pieces are, until those are all there, it's going to be kind of a little bit of a slower, I guess, how to say it a slower amount of like new content released, but like as the engine's building, like we did just change the timing system, and I think that's now reflected in the CTG. I could be wrong. Sorry, Beetle, you can correct me. But if not, it's very close to being in there. And yeah, there's just more things of that nature that we need to get before we can like really start to go ahead. But as I mentioned a little bit earlier as well, we are also looking at ways that we could be having some form of the combat system in place to be used for more than just like the combat testing grounds. So more to come on that in the future. And yeah, if anyone else wants to jump in, feel free.
I think you said it pretty well, Hubert. Timing system is not released quite yet, but we do have the baseline ready to roll. Just need some testing, and we can get that out. Yeah, it's I guess to jump in as well. It's very complex, but to Hubert's point, as soon as we're able to get each piece in there, it'll make the iteration process through new classes a lot simpler. So we're still very much in the laying the foundation stage. So yeah, I think you said it pretty well, Hubert.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's see. A question for Dreamer. So, very early, but what is the team's view on the Op BNB announcement? Third expansion is surely still a bit out, but it is a necessity after all, and the vision of Op BNB seems to fit quite well. So essentially, thoughts on Op BNB and also just general thoughts on Realm strategy.
It's interesting. I actually missed the last question because I was answering an important message on this topic. But specifically on OpBnB, we haven't worked with them directly yet. There are a lot of options out there when we think about the future of DeFi kingdoms and our long-term plan to be cross-chain, be chain agnostic, and have our core realms, which really is slotted to be like about 4 core realms. But I will say that it doesn't mean we can't have many presences on other chains as well, where it makes sense. So I'm going to treat this question as though it's kind of like a when third realm question rather than only on OpBnB. However, throughout this week, we can do a little bit more research, maybe reach out to them because we haven't talked to them directly yet and report back on that in coming weeks. But what does a third realm mean? So third realm would mean, linking that to additional hero classes, which would be really fun. Identifying a chain partner that we like their vision. We feel like relative to our lessons that we've learned in the past with some chain partners, there's an improvement. It exposes us to maybe new users or new potential user acquisition like the Clayton move was intended to do. And that's very much a long-term play there. maybe not necessarily like competing or being detrimental to our existing partners. We really love our partnership with Avalanche Gaming and Ava Labs. So there's a lot of options out there, but we have very limited amount of realms. We also have something really unique to offer a chain that other games or apps have a hard time competing with, and that's strictly in users and transactions that are generated from gameplay, from DEX trading, and from all the features we have and features that we will have. So in this extended bear market, it is important to keep in mind, build incentives and the right chain partners and continuing to grow in all ways. So we've been having a ton of these conversations. Internally, though, when we think about a third realm, this would be our first time launching a new realm. Remember, Serendale 2.0 was just moving an existing realm. It wasn't new. There was a tokenomics adjustment there that I think has proven to be really effective, and we're happy with that outcome so far. But there also is tokenomics decisions upon initial launch that certain emission schedules and unlocking that were meant for a time that is different than now. So a third realm is a unique opportunity for us to put our heads together and say, how can we introduce new classes or new tokens, new quests, new art, and new partners in a way that is beneficial to the ecosystem as a whole in the unique relative to last launch of a new realm market that we're in. So it's a big topic that I think we can't talk too much on, but I just wanted to say it's a great question. Unfortunately, we're not really focused on BNB currently, but it's an interesting announcement. I think we'll include that in our plans as we are gathering info. But really, this kind of goes beyond that to how impactful it could be in terms of extended partnerships, potential build grants and incentives, and how that might be a new path or trying some new things that would be unique to the extended bear market we're in. Bolon, do you feel like I hit that enough? I didn't mean to dodge the question, but I could have just said, interesting announcement. We haven't talked to them yet, but wanted to add a little bit more to it if that was helpful.
No, I think that was perfect. Thank you much. Appreciate the clarification and additional information as always. All right, and one more question for today, unless anybody wants to throw some stuff in. A while back, there was chatter on an AMA about a new way to generate random numbers on chain that we seemed pretty excited about. Has anything come of that? Was it something being built, or are we already using it? Magnus, you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, so what I mentioned in the past was a Oracle solution called Supra. They offer VRF, verifiable randomness function, and also price feeds for tokens, and I think they're going to expand other things outside of the crypto space as well. But we are basically in their integration pipeline. They obviously going to hit the like Ethereum and some of the just chains that have been around a little longer first, and then we are in their pipeline to be integrated next. And so they've kind of shared some news that that they're kind of working their way down the list, and we are coming up on being next in line. So very excited to start integrating that into the game. Very, very cool technology that they're working on for gas savings and things like that. We'll be kind of starting with the more traditional kind of like call and response based VRF, but they've got some really cool kind of like cryptographically shielded technology for generating random numbers that we'll look to integrate as kind of like a second step or a V2. But very excited to be working with them for on-chain randomness, as well as enabling price feeds on DFK chain and Clayton as well.
Much appreciated. Yes, looking forward to that as well. Well, unless anybody wants to drop a question in chat real quick, we will wrap this AMA up. So you got just a minute if you want to add something, and otherwise we will call it a day. My favorite Beetle is Beetle Dude, obviously. I feel like that's
good
clear.
answer.
Oh, Let's see. Yeah, so we can go ahead and start wrapping up. And with that, does anybody have anything that they would like to add? Sorry, I was reading at the same time and I was really struggling there. Does anybody have any comments that they'd like to add as we go into our wrap up? Any topic is fair game. All right, I see somebody typing in AMA questions. Okay, I'm going to ask for more clarification on that question. We'll take it next week because I'm not sure what they are asking about. It's a little general at the moment. So we'll take that one next week. As always, I just want to say thank you to everybody who is up on the stage taking time to answer these questions. Thank you to everybody who's submitting questions. If you have questions for us, the AMA questions channel in Discord or talk.defykingdoms.com. And appreciate everybody who takes the time out of their day to listen to us answer these questions as well. So thank you all, and we will see you next week. And I believe Magnus is going to give us a bullish.
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 Bullish. Thanks, everybody.